This episode of Walt Disney World Today is sponsored by MEI and Mousefan Travel. MEI and Mousefan Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, specializing in cruises and packages to Disney and other vacation destinations around the world. They provide signature service with no agency fees. Get a no-obligation quote at www.mousefantravel.com. This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, August 15th, and this is episode 296 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm your host, Mike Scoper of MousePlanet.com and AllIs.net, and I'm filling in for Matt Hochberg, who is missing in action in the land of talking mice and ducks. On the show tonight is the man who always has a great haircut and a great tan, Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World and TouringPlans.com. Welcome to the show, Len.
Thanks, Mike. A lot of people don't know that George Hamilton is indeed my mentor. It's a lot of people think it's Bob Salinger. It's really George Hamilton. So, and by the way, with Hochberg no longer here, let me just say, free at last. Thank God Almighty.
Do we dare say that? Do we dare?
No.
Should we start another rumor?
No, we can't do that.
No, wait till April. Also on the show, we have the only person who ever guesses my Muppet openings, Mike Newell from MousePlanet.com. Welcome to the show, Michael.
You know, Mike, when you host, it's so much more relaxing.
I know, isn't it?
It really is enjoyable. There's no stress. I don't have to, go crazy. Oh, it's very nice.
Yeah, maybe we should be learning something from these last couple of shows. Well, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for us to answer some listener questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the show over to Len to give us the first of the questions for tonight's show. Len, take it away.
Thank you so much, Mr.
You're welcome,
Scopa.
Len. It's a pleasure talking with you.
This has really just been a fabulous show so far.
I totally agree, gentlemen. This is really nice. Yes.
There's a reason why it's not called the Four Musketeers Bar. I'm just saying. Our first question tonight is from Theodore Goralski. I'm going out on a limb here and saying he's from the New York metropolitan area. Question reads, "Hi guys, I don't have a current trip plan, so you can answer this question whenever you feel like it. Parentheses, I may have just doomed my question. I have two boys who just turned 10 and 12. We had been doing annual trips for the last 6 years or so. Our last trip was great, but the boys are no longer interested in characters and that sort of thing. We need to change our approach. What do you suggest for the 11 to 14-year-old boy range? Can we let them explore on their own? Are there attractions aimed at this age group? I feel sad that they have moved on from that age of total immersion in the magic, but thanks, and I love the show." So, 11 to 14-year-old boys.
Yeah, well, you got to think that they're into the thrill rides. You got to think that they're into the headliner. So, you definitely gonna let them have their fun on Space Mountain, Big Thunder, Splash, Mission Space, Test Track, Expedition Everest, Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, and then it gets kind of tough.
Yeah. So, would you say? Let's start in the Magic Kingdom. For the Magic Kingdom, would you even route them through Fantasyland? I've talked earlier about when I go with Hannah, who's 9. Literally, we only went into Fantasyland because I insisted this last time. We had to go once, and the only thing we rode was Small World. Would you route the kids through anything in Fantasyland in the Magic Kingdom? Boys, 10 and 12.
Nothing. So can I remember back that far when I was 10, 11? I think, Len, you're right. I don't think there's anything in.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They might be walking directly from Tomorrowland to either Liberty Square or Frontierland.
In a couple of years, they may be interested in princesses, but until then,
until then, exactly.
Yeah. They're basically Tomorrowland and Frontierland. Basically.
So what about? And I think that would work out pretty well, actually. Maybe some Buzz Lightyear thrown in there between the two.
Yeah.
But what about an Epcot? So you'd do Soarin', right? Soarin', Test Track, Mission Space, then what?
Test Track, Mission Space. It gets tough. Maybe Maelstrom. They might like Maelstrom.
Yeah, that opens at 11 though. If they do their 3 rides, they're only booked until 10 o'clock. What are they gonna do for the other hour?
Oh boy. Okay, you get Soarin'. You got Test Track. What do you?
I mean, they're not going on Turtle Talk with Crush, are they?
No. What about Imagination? Maybe.
Yeah, you know it's
tough.
So I guess that's not a terrible ride.
Bring them into Interventions. Bring them to the video games.
Oh, video games and Interventions. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point because there's the Underwriter Lab stuff where they can bust stuff up, and then there's the video games, and then there's all sorts of activities where they can jump around and release some energy. That's a great call right there. Both Interventions. So normally we would say do that on the second day, but if you've got young boys, that might be a decent mid-afternoon first day or right before you go to Future World. Good call there.
And you know, if you're really devious, what you do is you tell the two boys, hey, go over to Ice Station Cool and
drink
Club
whatever
Cool. I'm sorry, yeah, drink some Beverly. See how many people you can get to drink Beverly. You know,
that's awesome. All right, so hope that answers your question, Theodore. All right, next question is from Will McAleer. And from Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. And the question is this: greetings. We are a couple of days away from booking our December trip. December trip.
That's easy for you to say.
Rascally Wabbit. 12/8 to 12/15, and I have our choices narrowed down to two: the Wilderness Lodge or the All-Star Music Suites. Having stayed at the lodge before, I know how incredible it is, particularly around Christmas time. That said, the suites at the All-Star are appealing as we have two teenagers, 17 and 15, and could certainly use the extra room. We've never stayed at one of the Value Resorts before, so I'm looking for a little insight. Thanks so much and keep up the great work.
Well, I guess it depends upon what they're looking for. If they're looking for privacy and they're looking to save money, then go with the All-Stars. If they're looking for ambiance, I guess I'd go with Wilderness Lodge. That's the only difference, I think. I mean, obviously there's a difference in the cost, but privacy is probably, going to play into it. And also, if the kids are that old, you might be able to give them their own tickets and, let them come.
Oh, you could definitely. I think they're old. One of them is old enough to drive. You could definitely. You could definitely let them run around the parks on their own. But I guess my question is, are those the only two choices? The good thing about the All-Star Suites is obviously you've got the two different room areas. Have they considered a cabin at Fort Wilderness?
Yeah. I guess the question would be, Lon, what is the difference in the price between Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness?
Usually it's about 20 to 30% more. I'd like to take a look at that.
And the other thing could be depending upon which park they like to visit more often. Although, being at Fort Wilderness, think of it this way. If you're at Fort Wilderness, you can or if you're at the Wilderness Lodge, heck, you take a boat or a bus over to the TTA and the kids can go to Epcot right there. They can go to Magic Kingdom. So that's a pretty good selling point.
Okay, so it's $70 more a night. Okay. $70 more a night for the Fort Wilderness cabins versus the All-Star.
But, well, I guess you can eat at the All-Stars too. I mean, you can make your own food, your own meals. But
that's one thing. But who wants to do that on vacation? As my wife tells me over and over.
No, I agree with Don. I mean, you're on vacation, so you don't have to wash dishes and make breakfast.
Exactly. So I guess it's going to come down to then how much room you want.
Well, do you get more bang for the buck at All-Stars?
Yeah, it's like 500 square feet versus you get 3 something at the Wilderness Lodge.
Looks like it's All-Stars.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably the best choice. All right, good. We can help out well.
Who needs Fletchburg?
Next question comes from Michael Eero of Philadelphia, and I'm reading Mike's question because of his PS. Mike writes, "What's the Disney Concierge Service all about? That is, what specific services or amenities are provided for the extra cost? I'm not necessarily interested in hearing whether or not you deem it to be cost effective. I just want to know what's provided. Keep up the good work, Mike from Philly. P.S. Van Halen rocks."
A ringer,
Mike was excited because he knows I was reading the questions. All right, so what is the Disney Concierge Service about? So Mike, I think when people think concierge service, they're thinking two things: location and food, primarily.
Right. Right.
Okay. So what is about the location of the concierge rooms?
Well, in the first place, they're usually at a very, very quiet spot, and they usually have a great view. For instance, the Hawaii building in Polynesian gives you a great view of the Magic Kingdom.
That's right.
I don't know. Let me see. In the Animal Kingdom, I've been upstairs to that level. I mean, you're at the top level, so it's nice and quiet. Again, with
That's
so I think that when we're talking about location, it's the view and it's the quiet location. So I think those are the 2 points regarding.
So you're right. So good point. So in terms of location, the concierge rooms are either physically separated, like they are at the Grand Floridian, a separate building,
right.
typically the main building, or a separate floor, like the 12th and 14th at the Contemporary, Beach Club, and Yacht Club have separate floors again for concierge. And you do typically have better, not necessarily water views, if you've got water available, but better views than you would normally get. Right. Okay.
Right.
Now, in terms of
what about
food,
amenities? What about amenities in the room?
No, they're pretty much the same, as far as I can tell.
In Polynesian, do you get a DVD player in the non-concierge rooms?
I think you get them in. Yeah, I think you do in all the deluxe resorts now.
Oh, okay.
Because I got them. I got it at Saratoga Springs, and that's not considered. And I wasn't staying. There's no concierge office.
Okay. Food, my favorite subject.
Food. Now I gotta say that the food have stayed like in 9 concierge rooms in the last year. I know my job is so difficult. I gotta say that the food has definitely improved, especially at the Magic Kingdom resorts. It's all fairly comparable, although different. So at least at dinner now, you get something hot at every place.
Oh yeah, it really looks tempting. I've been at the Animal Kingdom Lodge concierge level lounge and the Polynesian, and it looked pretty good to me.
And at the when I was there for Tiki Fest, they did the honey garlic chicken wings, or I guess the teriyaki garlic chicken wings.
Ooh, that sounds good.
People were all over that, like like they were giving up plasma TVs or something. It was awesome.
In terms of okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Len. I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
I was just going to say, in terms of cost effectiveness, I guess it comes down to what, number one, comment on this, Len, if you think I'm out of bounds here. It comes down to, one, what you normally would spend on food during the day, and number two, how many are in your party? If you have 2 or 3 hungry teenagers, it could really pay off to stay at a concierge.
Yeah, so the big thing, and it's not so much the the money, it's the time and money combined that you save in using concierge. So, for example, for breakfast, when I was with Hannah and when my wife goes, I'll typically go in the morning and grab everyone, Don and I, coffees, and I'll get Hannah croissants, and some fruit and everything, and we'll have breakfast just based on whatever's in the concierge, and that's saving $25 or $30 per day right there. And then we'll go back and we'll do snacks and we'll grab drinks, and stuff at night. We'll go back and a couple times during our trips this summer, we ate whatever the evening offering was at the concierge, and then just snacked in the park. And that's you're talking about skipping a dinner in a theme park. There's no way you can do that for less than $20 per person. There's
and the
no
lounge is
way.
right there. The lounge is right there.
You can just walk out. Yeah. So I think that's the big advantage. The other thing is too. I mean, they can occasionally do some service stuff for you, get reservations at restaurants and stuff. But a lot of that is you're better off doing that yourself. I don't know how much pull concierge has on getting last minute reservations, especially at the very, very popular places. Like I can imagine, even though there was concierge everywhere this last trip, there's no way I could have called and said I want a 6 o'clock reservation at Le Cellier. They would have just laughed at me. I did find out though I'm flagged as a VIP in the Disney reservation system. Isn't that funny?
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, why? I'm interested in the whole guide thing, but really, it's no big deal. That's funny. I thought it was funny. They're like, VIP. Like,
Len, I got to tell you, you're doing a great job. I think Hochberg's been Willie pepped. Willie pepped.
I'm really enjoying this episode.
Have another glass of wine, Mike.
Yeah.
Would you like another Beaujolais? There you go.
Beaujolais, thank you.
I'm gonna have some more cheese. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm gonna put my feet up. That's not as hectic,
I'm really not as demanding, am I?
No.
I'm just saying.
This is very good.
Whatever his name was. I mean, he's
Who?
Marty, was that his name? Marty?
Marty. Yeah, that's right. Marty.
Marty Hatcher. Marty Hatchberg, yeah.
Mitch. His name is
Mitch.
Mitch. Well, Mitch, wherever you are. Anyway, our next question comes from Scott in Hudson, New Hampshire.
All right.
It says, hey guys, if memory serves me correct, parking at downtown Disney is free, and there is bus service to the parks from downtown Disney. So what would stop us from using Disney transportation to avoid the parking fee? I realize this is probably a waste of time at some parks, but imagine that the ride from downtown Disney to the main gate at the Magic Kingdom would be about as fast, if not faster, than having to first drive to the TTC and then take the monorail or ferry to the Magic Kingdom. Any thoughts? Thanks, Scott. Here's my question, though. Does the bus go from downtown Disney to the Magic Kingdom at 8 o'clock in the morning?
That was my first question, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's probably the buses probably don't start moving till maybe 10 or 11 in the morning, 10 o'clock, I'd say.
Yeah, that's
when the stores open. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I don't think that you have any chance there of doing that. Although technically, I can't believe I'm saying this. You don't have to pay to park at the water parks, and you could take a bus from. Why do I do this? You could take the bus from the water park to the Contemporary and walk to the Magic Kingdom, or to one of the Epcot resorts and walk there. Why? Why do I say this?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's late.
I still don't think you'd get people doing that though, because
no, it's a huge pain. I mean, it just doesn't make it. You pay the $10.
But you got to remember again, why would you do that? Okay, we don't know. It's Scott, right? Scott from Hudson, New Hampshire?
Yeah, Scott.
Okay, Scott, if you're listening, here's the question, and I don't know if it was in the question, Len. Do we know if Scott is staying on the property or not?
No, he's not.
It's not on the property.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the question goes back to what you originally had said, Len, and that is getting to the park early. If you get to – what time is the earliest bus coming from downtown Disney to the Magic Kingdom? What is the earliest time you can get into one of the water parks to get to take a bus to one of the theme parks? So it's a question of time.
He's going in September. I would imagine that the water parks are going to be buses are going to be running to and from the water parks at least an hour in advance, so at least 8 o'clock. So assuming he's not going to be trying to get into extra magic hours, which he wouldn't be able to do anyway because you have to show a resort ID. Would that even work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Go to a water park. If you're at a water park at 8 o'clock, they don't charge for parking. You could hop on a bus back to the water park.
Hope he's not staying in the park till about 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, actually, it might work. It might work.
But is it worth it all? That's
not worth it.
Yeah,
no.
Is it worth it? Yeah, and you could probably do it, Scott. I just don't know if it's worth it. I mean, the thing is, for $10 extra per day, go ahead and pay it. There's really no way around it.
Yep. I agree.
All right, cool. All right, our next question is from Jennifer, who runs one of my favorite blogs, the Broke Hoedown blog.
Baruch.
Greetings, WDW crew. Your podcasts about Disney widows always make me think of my husband, though he's perhaps a very different sort of Disney widower. You see, my husband isn't really interested in Disney, and in fact, he can't really abide theme parks in general. He does, however, put up with my rambling from time to time, and even tolerates my occasionally listening to podcasts in the car, so he kind of knows you guys. In fact, the main reason I started blogging was to give myself some new outlets for talking about Disney outside the home, to give my poor spouse a little break. So next time you're thinking about Disney widows, you might want to think of people like him too, spouses with little or no interest in Disney, who end up married to us freaks. He also happens to be a blogger too, writing about the funnier and more cynical side of marketing at collateraldamage.biz. So Jennifer, there's your plug for your husband's blog. I hope he's able to flip this to Google for a lot of money very, very soon. All right. Next question comes from Jonathan in Nashville, Tennessee. Hey guys, this is a follow-up question to an earlier email. If you could combine them into one answer, that would be great. My family is planning a trip to, but I don't have the earlier email, which is really funny. Hold on 1 second. I don't have the original email, but that's Hochberg managing the email for us, so all gone. My family is planning a trip to the world January 28th to February 4th, 2008. That's right, because we're prompt about answering email on our show. We have 4 children, aged 9, 6, 3, and 1. My original question was whether it would be too cold to go to a water park. My follow-up question is this. Will it be too cold to swim at the resorts or even ride Splash Mountain? Do any of the resorts have an indoor pool? Thanks for the great show. All right, so first question. Is it too cold to swim at the resorts? No. How do I know? I've done it. In fact, I've done it with my daughter. Your kids will have no concept, Jonathan, of temperature. If they see a pool and you're in Walt Disney World, they will want to swim. The good news for you is that the pools are heated to somewhere between 70 and 80 degrees. So while you're actually in the pool, it will not feel too bad. And there's actually a decent chance that you'll have okay weather, where the temperature is 65 to 70 degrees anyway outside. I've actually been swimming in 40-degree weather with my daughter. The other question is are the water parks, is it too cold to go to a water park?
I'm going to say, go ahead, Len. Go ahead.
The water park water is actually heated as well.
It's a larger body of water, though, so I'm not sure. It
is. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you're going down a slide. There's so much air rushing over you at 30 miles an hour or whatever that you're still going to be cold. However, the water is heated, and one water park will be open. Would you do it? You're in Tennessee. He's from Nashville. It's a hardy mountain folk over there. I'd do it. I'd go one day to the water park and see what happens.
Well, keep your eye on the weather, though, too.
Yeah, it's true. But if it's upper 60s, lower 70s,
I agree.
Things could be worse. Yeah. And is the question of whether any resorts have an indoor pool? I don't think so. Do they?
None that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think any resorts have an indoor pool. All right. Our next question, Mr. Newell. Instead of me just going on and on and on, let me just ask you: do we have time for one more question?
We've got.
Because I know I want to be considerate.
We've got a good 10 minutes for one more question.
I have to commend you, Mr. Testa. That was very, very gentlemanly of you.
Instead of some people just assuming,
That's very true. I usually get yelled at in the private chat that we have going on while we do the show, and there's lots of exclamation points being addressed. And I got to tell you, so far tonight there hasn't been any.
And Mr. Newell, let me take this time to commend you on your work tonight. I think it's just unparalleled in podcast history.
Why, thank you, Mr. Scopa, and I do appreciate you being on time tonight, as well as you, Mr. Testa, being on time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's Mike. It's my pleasure, and it's out of respect for you and your profession.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you thanking me in that manner.
Please don't mention it.
Well, thank you.
So,
Len, would you like some more tea?
No, I'm fine, thank you. Do you have any more of those little sandwiches?
I do. Let me cut up a few more and I'll bring them right over. Michael, can I get you anything?
Oh, thank you, Mike. And Len, please try the brie. I think it's just fabulous.
I've had some. It was great. Are those grapes? All right.
Michael, are you surprising me? Is that what I think it is? Dole Whip? You son of a gun.
It certainly is. I had it flown in this morning.
Oh, my God. I'm getting a man crush on you.
Oh, well, I only do it to please.
All right. The next question is from Patrick DiCaprio. And he writes, hey guys, I'm new to the podcast and I'm now listening every day. I'll be going to Walt Disney World during the first week of December and have a 4-year-old daughter. Here are my questions. 1. Is the weather normally warm enough for pool time during the day? I think we'll revert to the earlier question and say yes, because when your 4-year-old daughter sees the pool, Patrick, she will assume it's warm enough no matter what the temperature actually is. 2. Are there typically any specials for the dining plan and tickets during that time of year? Not in early December. I don't know of anything. You know anything about tickets? Nah, probably not. Nope. 3. The crowd predictor has the crowds as being fairly low, but if we won't be going on Space Mountain, etc., can we expect any waiting on the lesser attractions? Yes. So, there's always waiting on attractions at Disney World because it's the most popular tourist destination in the United States. You're probably not going to get the 120-minute waits on Pooh and Pan and other Fantasyland attractions that you normally get, but you'll definitely see waits, and you'll definitely need a touring plan, especially with a 4-year-old. Obviously, if you're in the Magic Kingdom, you want hit Fantasyland first, and especially Dumbo first in Fantasyland. You just follow the normal touring plan patterns that we've mentioned before.
Yep.
Cool. This will be our first trip, and we can't wait. Thanks for your help. Do we have time for one more other question or comment?
We certainly do.
All right.
For our listeners, anything that we can do.
How gracious. How gracious.
That's awesome. All right. Hey, this is Rich. I'm so glad to have him back. This is Rich from Youngstown, who writes in and says, "Hey guys, I've been away from the podcast for a bit, so I apologize if this question has already come up. I'm curious about your worst Disney World experiences. I personally never had anything that would even remotely qualify as a bad time, but since you've all been there more than any person should be allowed, have you ever experienced any real Diz-appointments? By the way, Diz-appointments is my phrase, so if you're going to use it, you owe me $3 or a gold choice." This has been a great show. It's really been good. All right, guys, so I'll start with you, Mr. Newell. Anything that remotely qualifies as a bad time?
The only bad times that I have had were guest-caused bad times. And by that I mean other guests being either rude or... As far as Disney providing a bad time, no, I've never had a bad time. Even as far as food goes, I've never had anything really bad as far as eating goes. It's always been a guest-provided bad time that I've had.
Mr. Scopa.
I probably would agree with Mr. Newell that it would be guest-related. I can tell you that the very first time I watched, and I don't know if it was called Illuminations, we were watching it at the World Showcase Plaza, where you and I watched the Christmas show one time, Len. And we were there right in the front. And we were there with, I don't know, we just happened to be there with about 1 million Brazilians. And they were making us sit down. And I didn't want to sit down. I'm standing up. So one of the cast members came over, and she spoke to me in Spanish. And I looked at her, and I gave her as what we would call the look. And I said, I'm born in the United States, and I speak English. I do speak Spanish a little bit, but you can talk to me in English. And she said, you have to sit down. And that was about the only bad thing that I can think of right now.
Yeah, you're just caught up, I think. There.
Yeah.
I can't really think of, in terms of in Disney World, no, I think everyone's, I've had instances where I've checked into rooms and the rooms haven't been, made up. That's all minor stuff. That'll happen. In terms of, something going wrong and somebody not being able to fix it, other than that one concierge experience I had at the Grand Floridian, which I could sort of understand, I really haven't had anything. I do have a great, story about something going wrong at Walt Disney World. So my sister and I are going to Walt Disney World, my twin sister and I, Linda. We were staying at the Caribbean Beach, but for the last night that we were there, we decided to save some money. This was back in the day. So we stayed at the Days Inn in Kissimmee for our last night before we drove home. So we check into the Days Inn, and as we're checking in, the police are just finishing up a crime scene investigation from the shooting in the parking lot the night before.
Great.
So we're like, yeah, exactly. We're like, fabulous. So we go to our room, and the door is so old and so waterlogged that the door doesn't shut all the way. So we walk into the room, and the room just reeks of mildew, right? And you can actually close the door and still see outside. We go downstairs, we tell the manager's like, go to dinner and come back, and we'll have everything straightened out. And we're like, okay, we're not in Disney anymore. That's fine. We're going to Taco Bell. We're in line at Taco Bell. We order our food, we pay. And they slide you down, and your order comes up and you take your food. A family of 3 had come up and actually intentionally taken our food. Oh. And us, we're waiting for like 20 minutes. I'm like, where's my chalupa? Right? Like, dude, where's my chalupa? And the manager's like, well, we brought it out. I'm like, but I didn't get it. And the manager looked and he said, it's those people over there. They're in here every day doing that. And they pointed to these 3 people, and the 3 of them had like 2 things between them, 2 things my sister and I had ordered. So 3 people were sharing like 2 food items. And so the manager gave us our food and everything, and Linda and I are looking at each other like, what have we done here? So it's definitely a different experience inside and outside of Walt Disney World. So hopefully Rich, that puts it into context for you. Inside Walt Disney World, you get the occasional, and then again, outside of Disney World, it's all gunshots and stolen food. That should be their marketing line next year. Anyway. Yeah, you know what?
I can see the
You don't
commercial
say
now.
with us, it's all gunshots and stolen food.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my god.
All right, well, that about does it for us tonight.
Okay, well, that's it for tonight's show. And before my closing remarks, I'd like to express my gratitude to the delightful Len Testa and the eloquent Mike Newell for their contribution to tonight's show.
Why, thank you.
Thank you very much,
pleasure.
gentlemen, for your efforts tonight. If you have questions or comments, please send them to questions@wdwtoday.com. For the delightful Len Testa again and the eloquent Mike Newell, I'm Mike Scopa, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Walt Disney World Today is sponsored by MEI and MouseFan Travel. MEI and MouseFan Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, specializing in cruises and packages to Disney and other vacation destinations around the world. They provide signature service with no agency fees. Get a no-obligation quote at www.mousefantravel.com.